Welcome to Unlocking Your Truth, another podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips.
Well, hello, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and with Corey.
Hello, everyone.
And as usual on Unlocking Your Truth, we have a fantastic show planned for you where we are focusing on all things to do with spirituality, metaphysics, and intuition. So you might be tuning in to us live on 101.7 FM, broadcasting across the Fraser Valley. You can live stream us on CIVL, and you can also catch the podcast at drlesleyphillips.com. Well, today, listeners, we have a fantastic guest who we're going to be talking with, and he is going to talk to us about one of the most common questions that you write in, and that is purpose. What's my purpose? How can I be happy? How can I find happiness and fulfillment in this life?
Not to be mistaken with porpoise, right?
Not to be mistaken with porpoise. No.
Porpoise, yes.
That's right. And so we're going to inspire you to help you overcome issues of self-worth and have courage to take action to follow your dreams. And our guest is actually Swami Tirtha, and he's otherwise known as the Orange Cowboy. And he is the host of a television show called Talking with Our Angels. And just in that one sentence, I'm fascinated to delve more into everything I said there.
To say the least.
Yes, he's a best-selling author. I believe he's written at least 5 books. He's also been consulted by the White House for their Alternative Medicine Commission, some of the big universities like Johns Hopkins. He's been teaching for over 4 decades. And the story of his life is very fascinating, and I hope we can ask him about that too. So since 10 years old, he's been having spiritual experiences, and he's also been through some devastating tragedies, and the tragedies in his life caused him to seek out spiritual pathways, which then led him to discovering his divine mission. And today he is sought after by conscious leaders and by leadership teams around the globe to create miracles in their lives and careers. And one of the things he helps people with is strengthening communication with their intuition and their angels. And a lot of people have said that he's helped them rediscover joy, authenticity, and be able to have better clarity and able to have better decision making. He says his mission is to help create world peace. And he is targeting his first movie. So he's going beyond the TV show with a comedy about listening to your heart and trusting your authentic nature. Welcome to the show, Swami.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lesley. It's a great joy to be with you today.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, and thank you so much for being on. And first thing I want to ask you is, why are you called the Orange Cowboy? Now, we're on the radio, so our listeners, unless they go to their website, they might not see that you are dressed in orange.
Yes,
but what's the background to being called the Orange Cowboy?
Well, I started dressing in orange initially just because it was the color of joy for me. I saw orange in my head, and it was a very joyful experience. And then I went to the store one day, and there was an orange T-shirt, and I said, "Oh, look at that!" And I got very happy. And before you knew it, I had just about all my clothes in orange. And I was feeling a little self-conscious dressing this way, but at the same time, I'm also a monk in the traditions of India, and they all wear orange. Mm-hmm. And so I said, well, this may be, I'll honor the West by wearing Western clothes. I'll honor the East by staying in orange. And that's really how that came about. And then a few summers ago, I was at a place called Lilydale, which is a mediumship camp in New York
Yeah.
State. And my teacher, Lisa Williams, said to me, you know, everybody around campus is saying, did you see the Orange Cowboy? Did you see the Orange Cowboy? So I said, okay, well, that's that's what you get your feedback from your audience. So that's what they're calling me. It's making them laugh. Why not use it?
Yeah.
So I just said, well, okay, that's what everybody's calling me.
Well, it's fabulous. And you know, I like the color orange too. It's one of my, I have a thing I wear quite often when I'm teaching that's orange. I'm curious to know, in the Indian tradition, if there's any significance to the color orange, or it's just that saffron dye was, you know, expensive dye that they used. Do you know why?
Well, I know just from the chakras, it's related to the second chakra. But no one's ever told me, my guru, I come from a tradition where there's not a lot of memorization or study. It's all life force. It's all Kundalini Shakti experience. So the outer experiences don't really have as much interest for you.
Yeah. So now, you mentioned in your life story that you've been having spiritual experiences from a very young age. But there was one particular occurrence in your life that happened at around the age of 17 that really thrust you onto your spiritual path. Could you tell us more about that?
Sure, Dr. Lesley. When I was young, I used to get dreams that I would be separated from my parents, and different dreams, but the message was the same. And then when I was about 17 years old, they were actually in a car crash and they passed. And after the initial grief, then my thoughts were, how did I know that? Who was telling me that? And I need to know about this, and I don't care about anything else. Because we didn't talk about these things in the world back in 1972. The Beatles went to India to study meditation, and that's all we knew. It's not like today. And so I spent the next 5 years totally absorbed in meditation, becoming a meditation teacher, meditating 6 hours a day, all of those good kinds of things, until Spirit said, time to come back to the world. And that's been my life, back and forth, back and forth.
How did those 6 years change you?
Well, yeah, in so many ways. Because when I came back to the world, I couldn't relate to the world as it was. And it was a huge struggle for me, quite frankly. I mean, everything's worth it at this point in my life, but there's a lot of struggle going from following what you feel you had to do, which the whole world thought was crazy because it wasn't in our lexicon, coming back to the world and not connecting. And I was in college for radio, TV, and film. And so I'm coming full circle here with the spirituality involved. And in between, I went back to television. I worked in television, public television, network television. It was very empty for me. So after 5 years meditation and then 5 years in the TV world, I went to India and started visiting India every year. And by then I was studying Ayurvedic medicine and Vedic astrology. And so I started to have something that was a link between both worlds. I created an Ayurvedic, called it a school of Ayurvedic herbal products, and everything to help my clients.
I was in a position at one point in my life where I used the term, I don't know whether to be in the world or wear orange robes. And that was more of a metaphor for following a spiritual path. And a lot of our listeners, they have this concept that they can't be spiritual and live in the world. What would you have to say to that?
Yeah, it's really what the biggest question the millennials have when I speak with them. And if you do what you love, you don't have to literally be a monk. You just have to follow your heart, and that's a big enough challenge as it is. So why add the extra burden of going into a monastery or something? Being true to yourself. There's so many more people interested in people and doing the right thing. So many businesses that are focused on that today. A lot of the millennials too are doing that. So it's easier now than ever before.
Yeah. Yeah. The world has changed significantly.
Wow.
Meditation has become a corporate culture almost,
Yes.
when it was very much in the land of woo even 10 years ago.
Right.
Yeah. So then for all of our listeners, because I know like probably at least half of the questions we get are around life purpose and feeling lost and adrift, and what I'm doing in my life isn't fulfilling me. And so one thing you said is follow your passion. But how else would you advise our listeners who are feeling that way right now?
Well, I do something which is, well, my TV show is called Talking with Our Angels, and I have everybody watching this show just talk with their angels and say, for the highest good, meaning get me out of the way here, for the highest purpose, tell me something that would bring me joy now, or tell me something, what's my next step? And then just take some moments of silence and listen.
Yeah.
And you may hear some words, you may see a vision, you may feel something, you may know something. And that process of learning to listen, we do have to ask. That's the first answer. We have to ask for help. And then we have to listen. And that's like a muscle, Dr. Lesley, I found. It's a listening muscle. It's a consciousness muscle that needs development over time. I mean, everything else, you go for neurosurgery, it takes years. You go for a law degree. Anything these days, even yoga is a 6-month, 1-year program. People just, when they're, give me the answer right now, it's not, it doesn't, it's there, we just are not used to it. And how do we know if that's me making up this, or it's spirit or angels or God? That's probably the biggest question.
Yeah, we live in a very fast-paced culture. I call it fast food spirituality. Quick 5-minute meditation, quick. But you're right. And what I find is that, especially in the Western world, people are so very trained in their intellect, in their logical mind, which is, kind of the computer part of the brain. And so when it comes to turning within and tuning into your intuitive nature, it can be a very foreign thing for people. And you need to spend some time to cultivate how you do that.
Exactly right. Yes. And people, when they listen, it's like, well, how do I know if I ask a question and so, like somebody said to me, oh, I didn't get anything. I'm just so busy with my event. All I see is the LA freeway. I said, no, I got that for you too. And so that was what you got. So accept what comes and then see what it might mean for you.
Exactly.
And then she said, oh, so that means like the pathway's moving ahead. Just I'm on the right path. I said, there you go.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, because what happens is the spiritual insight comes and immediately it gets passed into the intellect that then doubts it.
Right, exactly.
So it's like you said, it's accept the instant inspiration and don't let go of passing it through the intellect.
And that's another thing. In the West, we don't really have a concept that we can get grace instantly. We can get a mega answer and improve our lives instantly, but it happens all the time as long as we take action on it.
Yeah. So you teach meditation, and I believe you teach meditation in the corporate world.
I will teach meditation for students, college students as well, corporate. And I was shown an instant meditation that you could do literally in 5 seconds, and nobody even knows you're doing it. And I'd be happy to do it if your whole audience can follow along.
That would be wonderful. Thank you so much.
Okay. So the idea here is think about the issue that is most in your mind, in your heart right now. Maybe it's a health issue, maybe it's a relationship or a career issue, or maybe everything's going good and you're really not sure what the next direction you're going to take with your career. Whatever that is, think about it and feel it and kind of give it a rating. Where does it bother you on a scale of 1 to 10? 10 is it's unbearable. My health pain is unbearable or something like that. And a 1 is like it's manageable. And give that a number. And now put your hand on your heart and just think about the person or the pet or the place or the music, whatever you love the most in the world, whatever brings you the most joy and love. Think of that. Take a nice deep breath into your heart. Breathe into that feeling of love of that person or dog. And as you exhale, just release whatever's not the love. Just hold on to the love. Be the love. And now think about that issue. And what number is it now? Did it come down even a point? Did it come down 5 points?
It's wonderful. That's really amazing. I've practiced something similar, which is if I have an issue, what I'll do is I'll just put my arms around it and love it.
Yeah,
and when you're in that space of love,
yeah.
Negativity can't fluctuate in there.
Right. And there's research that when you just touch your heart, everything settles down.
Mm.
So that's just an added bonus here. We're helping prime the pump, if you will, make ourselves. We can get out of the stress that we're in because, as you said earlier, Dr. Lesley, it's a logical, rational thing that's locking us into a should. And stresses come when we say, oh, we shouldn't be experiencing what we're experiencing right now.
Yes.
And if we can just think of something we love and forget what we're not supposed to do or what we're supposed to do, then we can breathe again. And that quickly, you could do that at the office, in a classroom, anywhere.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing that. That's a really wonderful technique that everyone can put into practice. That's really great. Thank you.
Pleasure.
So, talking about stress, I know that one of your books is helping students to stress-free college students.
Right. Yes. And that's, I say, it's less of a book and more of Pinterest on paper. Because there's not a lot of text. College students don't need another textbook to read.
Yeah.
And so there's a Chinese calligraphy that might mean something like courage or wisdom, so they can just see that and feel it and move on. There's a cartoon there are 5 key issues that the Harvard research found that college students, I think 70% of college students are highly stressed. And one of them is finances, one is socializing, self-esteem, workload, and health, physical and emotional health. And so I created 5 or 6 chapters for each of those. And in each chapter, there's a cartoon, there's a picture with a quote about that issue. There are some tips, food tips. And then there's a story from somebody that I interviewed who used some sort of stress management in college to succeed. And then I talk about it, and then we do the same for the next chapter, for the next issue. So whatever your issue, just take a quick look, do something with it, feel better, and get on with your life.
Yeah. So our radio show, our station is actually based on a university campus. Okay. So for any of the students in our local university that are listening, how can they get a hold of that book?
Oh, Amazon. It's an ebook and a print book. So the Stress-Free College Student, Amazon.ca, I believe.
Thank you. Wonderful. So we're going to go to a break, but I'm fascinated to find out more about your television show, perhaps when we come back after the break. So listeners, you're listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and Corey. And today we have Swami Tirtha. I hope I'm pronouncing Tirtha correctly, am I?
That's right. Very, very well.
Swami Tirtha. And he's the Orange Cowboy. And he's got a TV show called Talking with Our Angels. And he's calming us all right down with his wonderful soothing energy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We're going to be back after these few short messages. Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning in to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and Corey and Swami. Hello, and Swami Tirtha, the Orange Cowboy.
Joy, joy, joy.
Yes, he is he's inspiring us to find our purpose and to live in joy. And he has a television show called Talking with Our Angels. Could you tell us more about Talking with Our Angels, please, Swami?
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. It's actually my purpose, my latest purpose. I've been shown probably about 5 or 6 years ago. I had a vision of myself standing on a stage in an outdoor arena with throngs of people. And I said, okay, I get it. You want me to do something for the masses. And over the years, I would try different things, but nothing was coming anywhere close to that. And about a year or so ago, I said, okay, what is it? What can I do? I'm one person. What can I do to reach as many people as you want? If that's what you're asking, every time I listen, well, I'm talking to God or my angels. Whenever I listen, life is so much better. They do all the heavy lifting. So I've learned that. And I said, I'm into it. I've signed up. What do I do? And then I was introduced to a Hollywood producer. I told her about my screenplay, which I wrote, which is about earth angels. And as you talked about, a person who's very much caught in their logical, rational mind, and they've got the answers to the world, but why doesn't anybody listen to me? They watch the cats on YouTube, but not me. So it's about this person bumping into an eccentric earth angel who says, your heart's about to open, and he has to learn how to balance his mind and heart and discover why he was shut down, why he couldn't see his visions, because of how he was brought up and he was told not to do things, and how to eventually, lesser of two evils, start to accept yourself more. And it's a comedy, and to see how he deals with it, that's where all the fun ensues.
Yeah, that sounds wonderful. And what the story that you just described is the story of most people's lives in the Western world, actually, that we get shut down.
That's it.
And then if we're lucky, if things get bad enough, we seek a way to get back to the authentic self and connect with the true higher divine nature that we all are. So it sounds wonderful and great that it's a comedy.
Yes. We learn through laughter more than anything else. Yeah. All our barriers drop down.
Yes, because it's such a high vibration. It just lifts us out of our pain instantly. Which brings me to, so you're very focused on joy, and you wrote another book called 21 Days of Joy.
Yes.
Is that book to help people retrain into a different way of being?
Exactly, Dr. Lesley, because neuroscience tells us if we do any new habit for 21 days, we've created a new neural pathway, which just simply means we're easier, we stay in joy more easily. And if we're out of it, we can get back into it more easily because we have a new habit. And it's a habit of joy. Because most of our day, most of what we see in the TV, even in the movies, is negative. It's fear-based. It's lack-based. And so the more, and this is another muscle building, it's building our joy muscle. Spending a little bit of time each day on something positive, we start our our body, our mind, our spirit says, yes, more of that, more of that. And we get stronger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excuse me, it's interesting. I derive a lot of joy from some unusual things, and that other people may not. Like, for one thing, I love working on our website, on the podcast and thing. I love doing it. And other people would say, well, sitting in front of a computer all day, how can you really like that? But I guess deriving joy depends on the individual and what their joy is.
Exactly right. Exactly right. And for those people who don't know what their joy is or don't know what their purpose is, chances are it's the thing they do and love so much that their relatives and close friends say, stop doing that already. You know?
Yes, that's right, because we're so programmed into what our life is meant to look like, what success is meant to look like. And I think very often for people, it's the opposite of what they really love. It can be.
I grew up as a kid watching TV all the time. And now I have a reason to use that TV. So there was a purpose for it. I know someone else who loved cartoon comics and read comics, and now they're an adult and they're in the comic book industry, doing very well. So really do what you love, and it's gonna, you know, maybe you have to keep a few extra space from your closest people because they're full of it.
Yeah. Wouldn't it be nice if we can? Wouldn't it be nice if we can work with kids to help them get into a field that they love, as opposed to a field that people think they should go to and be miserable in? I remember in college, I was in a field and I hated it. I thought I would like it, and I was about a year and a half in, and because of the fear of my parents and the money that was spent and things along those lines, I didn't make a change, and I ended up, 10 years into my career, making a change and going into a completely different direction. Not that it wasn't useful for me.
Sure.
I received a use out of it, but not an enjoyment.
And things usually come full circle, Corey, and you probably experienced this. And some of those things you learn then, if not now, in the future, will be useful in the field you're in now. Yeah. Like the radio and TV and the film for me, there wasn't anything spiritually appealing to it at a certain point, but now I'm putting that into it. So everything can come full circle.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Yeah. It eventually
no mistakes. That's another one. No mistakes,
Oh, I allow myself one mistake a year.
So another aspect that I read about you is that you had also spent some time with shamans in the Amazonian jungle.
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I'd love to. That was a highlight of my life. One of the highlights. I was invited by a group called the Pachamama Alliance out of San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And they take trips to the Amazon to show the people to live with the tribes and to meet the shamans, to learn about the ecology and also how it's being harmed by the West. Mm. And so when we were with the shaman, we were in an herbal ceremony, and at some point, this spirit came down, this kind of white, amorphous-looking being. It came right in front of me and blew into my heart, and I changed, I shifted. I don't know what that means, but something happened, and I said, "Oh wow!" And then I said, "I can do this." And I came home and started blowing into the hearts of my friends, and they changed instantly. And that was the start of my instant energy medicine and healing. And the shaman said to me there, I was a natural born shaman and healer. So it was very exciting to get that confirmation from them. Yeah. It's not something a confirmation you would normally get in the West.
Right. It sounds to me, and maybe you can validate if this is what that almost that you going there allowed you to reclaim or integrate a part of your the shaman part of yourself into this body, this lifetime.
Absolutely. Yeah. Reclaim is a great word. Allow it back in. Recognize that it's there.
Yeah.
You kind of felt, I knew something is there. I didn't call it shaman per se, but shaman is very much about nature and validations through nature. So when I was thinking about a big decision yesterday, this giant hawk flew right in front of my car windshield. And if I see them, that's already a sign up in the sky. But this was like only the second time it flew right in front of me. So that to me is a shamanic omen. Whereas meditation, it's more internal. So there are different ways to achieve learning and realization and confirmation.
Yeah. And although they're different, they're the same, aren't they? Because our external reality is a projection of our
That's right.
internal reality.
The shamans say, dream your dreams into reality.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I interviewed a woman for my show recently, and she was in a very bad relationship. And so what she did was she said she spent most of the day in bed dreaming about her ideal husband or ideal boyfriend. And very soon after that, within 6 months, her boyfriend left and she found the person who she's now married to. So dreaming is a very powerful, it's another tip for your audience who's asking, how do I find what I love to do? What's my life purpose? Just pretend. I play the game, make pretend.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you can do.
Yeah. And very often that is what we're doing in our dreams, is we are rehearsing different versions of the life that we then come to play out in physical reality.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. Wonderful. So now that the Talking with the Angels show,
right.
What happens on that? Do you have guests on, then you interview people?
Yeah, it's very much like this. I use something like this where we have side by side, we talk, and I ask my guests, they've had some success in life due to listening to their angels or spirit or intuition or God, whatever they want to call it. And I ask them about a time when they talked with their angels and they got an answer and they followed it and they had a miracle transformation in their life. And that's really the essence of the show. And then at the end, just for fun, because it's the age of celebration, we play a game. And the game is, let's talk to your angels right now and say, for the highest good, what can they tell you that you will feel even more joy in your life right now? And that's
wonderful.
Basically the show. Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Yes, I have. I'll just a very, very quick story. But when I was quite a bit younger, I hurt my back, and I hurt it so much that it was really painful to walk, and I was in bed for about 3 weeks, like trying to recover from this, and I started hearing this beautiful music around me, and every time it would be really, really bad. Like I remember one day I walked just to the supermarket to get my groceries, and I thought, I don't think I can make it back. And as soon as I would hit a point like that, this amazing choral music was like I was standing in a I don't know, like a dome of beautiful music, and it was the angels. It was the angels giving me the courage to recover and heal and carry on, and letting me know that everything was going to be all right.
That's a beautiful story. Maybe you'll come on my show and tell that story.
Yeah, maybe. I have a few angel stories, actually. That's one of them, and that's sort of like, I guess the first really significant one that I remember. And I also, because I was bored and I couldn't go to work and I was just lying on my bed, I was drawing just random images. And what I was drawing was the angels, the angelic beings that were surrounding me.
Beautiful. That's so.
Anyway, I think we should go for another break. Listeners, you're listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley, Corey, and Swami Tirtha, who is the Orange Cowboy and the host of Talking with Our Angels. He's also a shaman and a meditation teacher, an energy healer, and an expert in Ayurveda, which we haven't spoken about yet. We'll be back after these few short messages. And by the way, you're listening on CIVL, across the Fraser Valley Live, or on drlesleyphillips.com on the podcast. Welcome back, listeners. You are tuning into Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley and with Corey and with Swami Tirtha, the Orange Cowboy, who we've been having a wonderful conversation about how to live a life full of joy, how that when we do that, that's kind of the same as living our purpose, because feeling our joy is a clue to helping us to tune into what our purpose is. Now, I was reading a little bit about you, and one of the things I learned was that you're you're keen on, or perhaps you're doing something about this, but creating a community with like-minded healers and guides. So can you expand on that, what you're doing in that realm, and how that's an important thing to do?
Absolutely, Dr. Lesley. I feel now more than ever, it's so important to have like-minded people around you. I was told by my angels in 2010 that 2012 is the start of an age of celebration. People said it's the end of the world, the Mayan calendar's over. But a Mayan elder told me it's the age of joy. And I said, that's what I got. My angels told me it's the age of celebration. And so that's the time that we're in now. And I'm thinking of so much joy, I actually forgot the question you asked me.
It was about creating community
Right.
with like-minded healers and guides.
And so, I've been doing this for 46 years, and it's like, okay, I just would like to do it with other people too now. And I joined a group called the Evolutionary Business Council, and they actually started out of Canada. And it's like-minded, conscious thought leaders who want to help the world, who want to support each other's missions. So, for example, a friend of mine went to our Facebook page and said, hey, folks, I just wrote a new book. If you feel connected to the book, I'd love it if you would shout it out to your followers. And everybody has anywhere from 10 to 300 million followers. And that day, his book came #1 in Canada. And the next day, it was #1 in the United States. And it's just, and then we have meetings a couple times a year. We have little dinners if you're in town. And you say, hey, I'm in town, we'll get together. It's just a wonderful group of heart-based people who are wanting to do something good in the world.
No, it sounds really, really wonderful. And, one of the things that, I can identify with that need to be able to spend time with like-minded people. And I know from a lot of the people that come to me for sessions, the people who are turning on to their spiritual nature, and often they feel isolated, they feel alone, they feel different, they feel like the black sheep of the family, they feel like they're in a workplace where they can't be themselves, because if they were, nobody would understand. And so there is a huge need for ways of connecting people.
Especially in this industry of healing and helping people. It's become such a quote unquote business orientated realm that most people are even in the in the field that we're in with helping people with their intuition, everybody seems to think they have the best, the only, the one, the key, and it's all part of the same thing. I mean, it's so nice when you gather a group of people and you have a like-minded experience that you want to pass along, and that everybody's open to it, as opposed to trying to push it away because it's not what they think.
You know, it's funny you say that, Corey, because I find that as I promote other people in the group that I connect with, that I'm aligned with, that gets me more followers, gets more people interested in what I'm doing, not less. Exactly.
It just, I use a term, I guess one of the scriptures that I'm fond of from the Bible was when Peter and Jesus walking along, and Peter goes, look, they're healing in your name over there. They're healing in your name. Paraphrasing, of course. And Jesus says to him, he says, well, he says, that's if they're not against us, they're with us. So leave them alone, you know. Like, and it's great. But we've run into, Lesley and I, Dr. Lesley and I have run into many experiences with that, and it's very interesting what people, the extremes that people will go to try to prove that they are better than you in a situation where we're supposed to be flourishing our joy and love for each other.
Right. It's abundance, it's love, and those of us who can stay there. And the other thing is that because this is the age of celebration, people are spontaneously waking up to their intuition. And that's why they run to you and say, what's happening to me? I'm going crazy. And it's the dark ages are over. The light is coming, and people are just waking up.
Yeah, that is what happens quite a lot, actually. Yes, I'm hearing voices. Am I crazy? I'm hearing music. Am I going crazy? So on that note, Swami, would you be prepared to see if there might be any messages from the angels that might want to come through and talk to talk to our listeners? That would be lovely.
My pleasure. All right. So for the highest good, angels, what's the message to bring joy into the heart of all of Dr. Lesley and Corey's listeners? So I'm seeing dancing, lots of dancing, lots of celebrations, and I feel it right in my heart. So what I'm getting, everybody can take away their own message. How I would interpret that is dance a little more, find reasons to celebrate the little things. Celebrate, I woke up today, I'm healthy, people love me and I love people. I just finished a project. Well, celebrate the little things, and then the big things take care of themselves. So dancing, celebrating literally or figuratively.
That's a wonderful message. It speaks to me personally as well, because, and I think a lot of people are like me in that I have so many ideas and creative projects that when I've finished one, I kind of don't take the time to celebrate it. It's because there's another one now.
Right. And it's all supposed to be fun, and we've forgotten to have fun.
Yes.
The things we love to do.
Yeah, you're right. We have. So, anything else that you would like to communicate to our listeners about yourself, about your work, about your message that you have in the world?
Well, I think that joy and abundance, it's a holistic approach. It's not a silver bullet. That's a Western idea.
Mm.
You have to love yourself. That's first and foremost. And replace fear with love. That's a whole nother talk. But you have to eat healthy and love yourself. Love yourself enough to eat healthy foods, fresh whole grains and fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
That's a tough one for some people that I know. Yeah. Sitting in this chair.
Well, then find one thing that'll change your life miraculously, like switch from white sugar to whole cane sugar, or switch from white bread to whole wheat bread.
Yeah.
something like that, and you'll see results. You'll feel results in 3 days. But pick one thing that you could do, that you can do, that you don't mind doing.
Yeah. Do you still teach Ayurvedic?
I do. In fact, it's resurging now, and I've revised the way I teach, so it's more like the martial arts where you get belts after every level. In Ayurveda, when I certify people, it's a 2-year program. So I now have another program where every weekend you get a certification to the next level. And I'll travel the country for small groups. I call it VIP Ayurveda. 20 people, I can give everybody personal attention and
so are those levels based on having absorbed the knowledge and put it into practice?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. It's all about the experience. It's not just intellectual. So you're going to learn how to figure out your constitution or your dosha. You're going to learn how to use aromas, pick which aromas work for you or your spouse or your kid. You're going to learn which exercises are best to do. Yeah.
Actually, I have a question about that. When you have a family, and the individuals in the family all have a different dosa, as you call it, what do you do about meal times?
Yeah, there is. Well, it sounds more challenging than it really is, because there are grains and beans that are good for everybody. And then you can make a main dish that's good for everybody, and just one or two side dishes of vegetables, and that would really cover the family. And within 20 minutes, like rice and mung beans, in 10 minutes it's ready. Once you start cooking it, you put your vegetables in there. So your meal is done in 10 minutes. So it's really a quick way to have a family gathering. And if you teach the kids how to cook, if you teach them how to make flatbreads, and if you have a gas flame, it puffs up like a softball right in front of your eyes. So cooking becomes magical. It's really amazing.
So you make flatbreads out of whole grain flours?
Yes, particularly whole wheat bread. It has to be kind of fine, but you can do it just mix it with water and put it on a gas stove. Yeah.
And so Ayurveda is vegetarian.
It could be. It's whatever you are, but it personalizes it for who you are. So there's basically 3 types of people: air, fire, and water. So the air person tends to get excesses of air, which could be dry skin or gas. It's a lot of air, or too much worry in the brain, too much air in the brain. Fire people, too much heat rash, hot temper. And water people could be water in the lungs, or edema, or lethargy. And so what works for one person, what works for the air person, would be to have more fire and water, because fire warms the air and water moistens the dryness of the air. And so it's a very personal approach, and it's so beautiful. I call it the mother medicine, because it nurtures you instead of cuts something out of you or suppresses it with a drug. It says, well, you're feeling this way because you don't have enough air and fire, so have some of that.
What's the name of the air one?
Vata.
Vata,
V-A-T-A.
Vata, right.
Vata, Pitta, Kapha.
Okay. And there's Pitta and Kapha.
Right, exactly.
And is Pitta the water one? Fire one?
Fire. Kapha is the water. And usually people are combinations of 2 or all 3. And if you email me, I'll give you a link to the test. You can actually take a free self-test.
Yeah, I think I'd like to do that. I've done that before. I think I came out as more of a Pitta person.
Yeah. Well, you have red hair and you have your own business, so that tells me you're at least mentally Pitta. You need fire to run a business. You do.
Interesting. But when you were talking, it's funny because I identified with some of the things that you were saying about the air person. So.
Sure, and as I say, we're combinations usually.
Yeah. So if our listeners want to find out more about the courses that you do, in the area of Ayurveda, do they just go to your website, orangecowboy.com, or is there somewhere else that they should go?
Well, Orange Cowboy is for the VIP Ayurveda, and also VedicSchool.com is for the certification program to be a professional practitioner. And if you go to Vedic is VEDIC, Victor, Edward, David, Indigo, Charlie, Vedic School. If you go to Orange Cowboy, I have a free download of a Tibetan bowl sound bath meditation I created. You just sign in your email and you can download it. And the Tibetan bowls, I play them with the intention of healing and inspiring. And you just sit there and the sounds of the metal of the Tibetan bowls just wash right over you. It's just a very instant release, nice way to release.
That sounds wonderful. So listeners, if you go to the orangecowboy.com, you can download a free Tibetan bowl meditation. And if you're interested in training in Ayurveda, you can go to VedicSchool.com. And how can they watch the Talking with Our Angels TV show?
Sure. Right now, the first season is being recorded on Facebook Live. I have one tonight. I don't know if we're airing this tonight, but you can go to my Facebook page, and I have the older, unedited versions. And then it probably in the summer they'll be done editing, and I'll have them on the TV. And you can get that through the TV to Go app. It'll be on the iLaunch TV network, She TV, My Holyfield TV, and it's in 164 countries. And Dish TV, Viacom, Comcast, so it's in a lot of places. And if you're not sure where it is, you can email me and we'll get you to one of those sites.
And is your Facebook page Orange Cowboy?
Well, I think I couldn't get that. Unfortunately, it's my very long name, but I'm going to double check that now that you asked me.
You mean there's another Orange Cowboy?
On the YouTube, there's one that's called The Annoying Orange Cowboy. It's a cartoon.
Oh.
Well, this has been amazing.
Yes, thank you very, very much, Swami Tirtha, for being on our show. You've brought such a lovely, calming, soothing, grounding energy in our midst, and we thank you so much for that. And we hope that everyone that listens to the podcast will be able to match that lovely energy vibration. So thank you so much. And listeners, you've been listening to Unlocking Your Truth with Dr. Lesley, and on tonight's show we've had a wonderful conversation with Swami Tirtha, who is the Orange Cowboy and the host of Talking with Our Angels. And you can go to theorangecowboy.com, and you can also go to VedicSchool.com to find out more about him and investigate his books and his teachings.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome. We'll see you next week, listeners.
See you next week.
Joy, joy, joy.
Thank you for joining us. You've been listening to another Unlocking Your Truth podcast by Dr. Lesley Phillips. For more information, go to our website at drlesleyphillips.com. That's drlesleyphillips.com, where you can ask questions or send her an email, and there's many free gifts on there for you as well. You can also find the questions that were asked during this show at the website on our free card reading podcast page, where you'll find a full list of them. Come back again.